All right, good morning, gang. Mr. Allred here with you again. We have been talking about drawing and shading, specifically talking about shading techniques and how we can introduce value into our drawings through the use of those shading techniques: hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and blending, the four most sort of useful of the shading techniques. And I am going to do a little bit of drawing today. Your assignment after you're done watching this video is to find an object somewhere in your home, right? And when I say object, your subject, we'll call it instead. That sounds better. But it could be an object, it could be a person, it could be an animal. If you can get a person to agree to pose for you, that'd be fantastic. If you can get your dog to sit still long enough to let you draw him, that'd be great as well. Really, whatever you want, whatever you feel like drawing. The theme here is to find something you dislike, right? To find an object in your home that for whatever reason you don't particularly care for, okay? And again, it's just an idea starter, so you don't need to be too hemmed in by the restriction. It's just an idea starter. So, but you're gonna find an object that you're not crazy about, some kind of an object that you think is, for whatever reason, you don't care for, okay? And you're going to draw that object and try to shade that object in your drawing, okay? I have as you can probably see, turned the lights down a little bit so I can try and get some shadows on my object, and we're gonna go from there, okay? So I've actually done and you really can't see it very well, but I've done a blind contour first of this hand model. A little bit wonky, but just a warm-up activity to get me going. Put you guys back on the tripod. Alrighty, and hopefully it's not too dark here for you to see. I have just flipped the portrait drawing from a couple of days ago. Just flipped that joker upside down, and we're going to draw on the same piece of paper. Save a few trees. But we're going to try and get the overall shape of this form correct, right? And we're also going to try and match these values as closely as possible. That's why I have the lamp out. Again, try and cast a few interesting shadows, hopefully. Give me something interesting to draw. Okay? So you guys just watch along, and I will try to stay out of the way as much as possible so you can see what I'm doing. But as per usual, you want to start with the big shapes. So let's go ahead and try and get the big shape of the whole thing sort of roughly in place. Sort of like something like that. And of course, this is just a starting point, so it doesn't need to be exact. This is just the beginning. That guy kind of comes over like that. And of course, we'll be making adjustments along the way here. Already I'm finding that maybe my hand is drawn a little too wide. Just come in and tweak that a little bit. We can go ahead and get rid of this guy so it doesn't distract us. Come in here and try to indicate with this thumb sort of is living. All right, so the basic shape sort of already in place. Goodness, you guys can barely see that. So yeah, it still just looks like some random lines right now, but we're getting there. That's the first step. Now we'll start getting a little bit more serious about refining these shapes and seeing that they are accurate, at least as accurate as we can get them. Hopefully you can see this a little bit better. I moved the camera a little closer. I know it's still difficult to make out some of this from your vantage point. open space between these two fingers, that negative space can be a real good indicator of the shape and can help you a lot in terms of placing things. So I try, if there's a little bit of negative space there, try to record that. And it'll give you a little more insight into what's happening with the solid objects if you can record the space in between them. Getting there. And again, you can see I'm making some changes. Hopefully you can see. I am making some changes from my original drawing, right? Anywhere I'm finding the proportions in the original were not necessarily correct. We're just changing those and just drawing right over the original lines. And that finger may be not quite in the right place, I hate to say so. If something doesn't seem quite correct, of course, we just jump in there and change it. Let's try that again. So, maybe a little bit closer to the hand than I had it. Still keeping it really loose, really free. You don't want to get tense about this or overly concerned. Right, just take it nice and easy. See if we can get some of these values in there. Nice dark fingertip there. Got some really loose hatching going on here. And as much as possible, we're trying to follow the actual three-dimensional form here. If it's a round object, you're making sort of curved hatch marks. If it's a flat object, you're making straight hatch marks. And even this is not a hard and fast rule. I can go in here and add a little bit of cross hatching that's going at a completely different angle if I want. Consistently trying to add in those dark values whenever I see them. This guy's kind of casting a shadow on the rest of the palm here. So we'll try to include that, and it gets real dark right there. Go ahead and add some value to all this. And you see I'm sort of breaking my own rule here. And these hatch marks really would be better served by being curved like the form. And we can go in and add something like that if we like. But when I'm in a hurry, sometimes I just sort of scribble them in and we can tweak them later. Let's add a little bit of value to everything. And then we'll go back in with our eraser and really carve out the highlighted areas. Something like that. Right. We do a little blending of those values. Ooh, look at this smudge. Love it. Over that feeling like a real shadow, right? Like a nice soft gray cloud. Now we got our trusty eraser. Come back in and just try to carve out some of these highlighted areas. So a little triangular highlight in there. Now with some light hitting this first finger. If an area has a real strong light hitting it, something like this, you probably want to soften that outline as well, right? Of course, there are no hard outlines in the real world, so leaving in a hard outline where it doesn't belong will really take away from the three-dimensional nature of what you're drawing. Let's clean this area up a little bit. So we've got most of the form, most of the values in place. Now just go ahead and add a little bit in terms of some final details to crispen things up. All right. We'll show right there. There's a nice little shadow here. We'll include that guy. And you see I have just a little bit of added detail, especially at these intersections of forms. It really makes it seem a little more real. That's the hope anyway. Nice dark shadow there. I don't think this guy gets quite as light as I would like him to be. So we will change it. Too much. Throwing some hash marks in there and some of those shadowy areas. blend this a little better down here. It's a little bit lazy right now. There's also a cast shadow. So we're coming this way. We can literally just throw that guy in place and almost just indicate it in that fashion. Doesn't need a whole lot of special attention. All right, so something like that. Not exactly a masterpiece, but pretty solid. Take you guys a little closer. Let's check it out. Okay, again, this is where we started with the blind contour drawing that I did before filming started. And the finished version. There we go. I believe you guys can see that. All right. Our subject. One more time. All right, so some pretty interesting things going on in there. All right, so now it's your turn. You're going to find an object in your house, and today's theme is an object that you sort of dislike for some reason. Again, this doesn't have to be anything mean or anything like that, just something that you don't really care for. We're going to try and find that object like that. It can be anything you want, so you make the rules there. You're going to try and draw that object and then shade it as accurately as possible. Okay? Have fun with it. I can't wait to see what you come up with, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.